The Joker's no smoker. There's poker to play. You love the cards. You love the aces. It's all in the hands of Lady Luck, or is it? Stay tuned for what's on tap. Hello and welcome to the partypoker.net European Open. I'm here with six-time world snooker champion Steve Davis. Position.
Well, it's talked about a lot in commentary. Let me ask you a question that I know you know the answer to. Wouldn't you like to make a decision after everybody else have made their own decision?
It has to be an advantage intuitively.
Okay, so let's take a look at that in a poker scenario. When the dealer's dealt the cards and the small blind and the big blind have put their money in, the first person to act is this gentleman here, or lady. He's got the first choice. He's called he's under the gun. He has to make his decision before the rest of them can make theirs. If he gets it wrong and somebody raises after him, he's then going to put in more money. He's got an early choice. Wouldn't you rather be further round the table, back towards the dealer button to make your choice?
I mean, basically, he's got no information to work on, aside from the mathematical percentages of what beats what.
Okay, obviously the small blind and the big blind can make their decision there, and then they have the final say in things, but you'd rather be round by the dealer to make your decision later. Okay, the second phase is, after the first round of betting, you have the flop. Now all of a sudden, things change again, slightly. But even so, the last person to make their mind up is the dealer. It goes to the left of the dealer, the first decision. If he gets this decision wrong, he's in terrible trouble. If these people here decide to check, it gives information to this guy, or these people around this the back end of it, so to speak, that they're showing weakness. The only situation sometimes when being the first to act can be of help is if you can pull the trigger first and make your opponent blink. So let's say there's only two left and the dealer's there and this guy here, and he's the first to bet. Possibly he can put pressure on this guy to fold, even though he's the first one to make a decision. But only really in that situation. Most times you still rather be getting information.
Well, one person who's definitely in a position to know about position, former world champion Phil Hellmuth.
How does your position affect the way that you play a hand? Massively. But a lot of times, traditionally, people would raise in late position with weak hands in order to try to steal the blinds. These days, people are expecting that. So sometimes you want to raise with your weak hands in early position because they think there's a less likelihood that you actually have the hand. How about the position to make a re-raise? A good position to make a re-raise would be either on the button or from the big blind. If you re-raise someone from the big blind, it's just them and you. You don't have to worry about someone else waking up with a hand behind you. So the big blind is a good place to re-raise, and a good place to make a early position raise would be a great place for you to make a raise when you're weak.
Well, they call Phil the poker brat, but he knows etiquette, but maybe not as well as the gentleman, Liam Flood, who is going to be playing this evening. And Liam, what is poker etiquette?
Well, it's to behave yourself properly at the table, basically, and be a good loser and a good winner at the same time.
Liam, I've been around in poker for a very short spell of time, but I've noticed in other sports the etiquette seems to have got worse. How's it been in poker?
I think it has improved tremendously in the last 3-4 years. There's no bad language allowed because there's a lot of female players coming into the game, and they don't throw the cards at the dealers as they used to. If somebody got a bad beat before, they used to throw. I've seen people tearing up the cards at the table and then throwing them at the dealer.
It's never easy, win or lose, but do as the gentleman does, take it on the chin, and we'll see who the 5 players Mr. Liam Flood will be playing against this evening are. Well, everyone on Twitter, the seats are being shaken, not stirred. Cards are squared and shuffled. When we come back, the games will begin. Welcome back. Well, it's about time to start before the clock strikes 5. Myself and Steve Davis will be guiding you through all the action. Let's check out the hands begun.
So a battle of supreme wills here this evening. And the cards out already. It'll be Barry Hearn first on the button and last to speak this first hand. Blinds of 1 and 2,000.
Pass.
Tony Mackay on the action, and he's folded up shop. 2,000 is the bet. Players beginning this tournament with 100,000 in tournament chips, and will play to one has them all. Folded around now to Barry, who
Raised to 6,000 total.
well, this is a wrinkle early on. Raised to 6,000 with the 8-4,
Pass.
and he's taken the
Okay, I'm going on.
pot.
Catch him, you're done.
He's come to play.
I have to win one.
Let's check out the ranking of hands. Each 5-card poker hand falls into the official ranking of poker hands. Bottom of the ladder is high card only. A pair just above that, and 2 pair is higher still. 3 of a kind is 3 of a number. A straight, 5 cards in a row of any suit. A flush is 5 cards of the same suit in any order. Full house, 3 of a kind plus a pair. 4 of a kind is self-explanatory, and a straight flush is 5 cards all in a row of the same suit. Royal flush is top of the pops. That's a straight flush, ace high. Barry Hearn recently played in a TV tournament, and by the third hand he had lost half his stack and had quite a tussle to get it back. So I wonder if that's going through his head. He doesn't want to get too involved early, but sometimes the cards dictate your involvement.
Pass.
6-handed, ace queen.
Call.
It's a very, very good
Pass.
hand. Ian Harris flat calls with a pair of 6s.
And those flat calling, that flat calling with the pair, I mean, we were talking about position before. It works very well when you're in position. If Ian Harris does hit a 6 on the flop,
Pass.
he'll be in a good spot to
Pass.
maximize the profit.
The good thing about calling with a pair of 6s is it's very disguised. Should a, sort of the flop come down a bit ragged with a 6 in there. There is an advantage. It depends how much it costs. But now all of a sudden the 6s don't look so good.
Oh, and they're not good. Bazzah with the top pair, top kicker. He's eyeing his chips
8,000.
like they're a
Pass.
milk machine.
Little grimace there from Barry, pretending that he didn't like it when he loved it.
Bet and take it from the razor.
It's easy
And
if you don't get caught. It's embarrassing if you do.
Oh, I can't sit and listen to this all night. I've listened to it for 25 years. I can't have any more of it, surely.
So.
Pass. Pass.
Pass.
Pass.
looking at the faces,
Call.
and a limp in from Chris Parks,
Call.
who's in a bit of an extreme sport himself
No
here.
raise.
3-handed.
A call from Barry Hearn with the Queen 6. And Pamela Shandel with very little.
Oh, this could get
Something for
interesting.
everyone.
Yeah. Parks on the button with the pair and the flush draw.
Check.
Barry Hearn with the top pair.
6.
And interestingly
6,000.
enough, even though Barry has the best hand pair-wise, I think Chris Parks is the favorite at this stage.
Yeah, a lot of cards could hit him. That's the trouble for Barry Hearn. We're calling with the Queen 6.
Raise.
He's hit his top pair and he still doesn't exactly know where he is. So he's put a raise in.
6,000 more.
He's certainly
12
going to find
total.
out where he sits now.
It is the minimum raise, and if it's informational, Chris Parks might give the answer right here. You could see Chris Parks getting very wild with this hand. I mean, it looks like he's got a whole handful. Ooh.
Call.
Well, any jack, any 8, any diamond.
Barry looking a bit worried there. That hasn't changed things, and now Hearn in a much stronger position. Parks is the one drawing.
Needs to bet quite big to get him off this flush draw and everything.
10,000.
Well,
Pass.
is enough? A scratch of the head.
Parks gave that up quite quickly, but with the aggression, Barry Hearn takes the pot, and he's won 3 hands, a fully 50% of the ones that have been played.
Tough call for Chris Parks there. You either go in strongly, perhaps he could have raised with that draw. It was a very big hand to draw to, really.
The long roller.
Second time we've seen Barry with the 2-8s.
Well, I was born in Connecticut.
Pass.
That was for a few hours. Then I moved.
Oh, you striked him. You kept the accent though, didn't you?
Harris with the pair as well. Couple pocket pairs in here.
Pass.
There's a few good hands out here.
Boy, I mean, you talk about playing tight. Tony Mackay not living up to his image. Only a call with the Jack-10 on the button, and he does not like it.
Well, he may well be right when we see what else is out there,
8,000.
because there's a big
Raise.
hand,
8,000 more.
big
10
enough to
total.
raise with.
8 to call.
And there's a little bit of value if they all would call, if they all should call. And once Barry Hearn calls, that means that
Lots at all
it's a
here.
bit more attractive for others to put money in as well, just in case they do hit.
Pass.
In some ways, he could have perhaps put money in there. 8,000, he's already put 2 in.
You could have easily seen Ian Harris, especially with the position he's got. I mean, Chris Parks, I think he meant to take that pot before the flop with the raise. Now he finds himself out of position in against Barry Hearn, but the cavalry has arrived in the form of the ace on the flop.
Perhaps Barry Hearn was hoping a couple more people would be in for the value, but he had to make the first choice, and that's where position is important.
Pass.
He had to make an earlier decision.
Set of connectors, Barry, huh? Small ones.
No.
Well, he's more or less picked up on what Barry had. Liam Flood
I'm
saying,
playing one with a flop like that, Liam, that's for sure.
Liam Flood trying to work out what Barry had. Shouted across the table, suited connectors, Barry. Nearly got it right.
Well done.
Any information you can get for free in this game is considered ammunition for the arsenal.
You're not going to get much information from this man. Because he's renamed himself the Rockfish. Is this a new name? I don't know if it's been one that's around for ages. Those sunglasses look very intimidating, but next to Liam Flood, he looks small at the moment, doesn't he? He's got a rise in stature just a fraction.
Pass.
Because Liam is,
And Ian Harris now
Raise.
getting busy.
To 8,000 total.
Hasn't played
Pass.
many hands, so it will be respected.
yeah, well said. This is only the second time Ian Harris has raised before the flop, and it's a bit of a down dip, but I would imagine they'll have a hard time taking him on.
Pass.
Pass.
6,000 more to
Pass.
Barry, who quickly
Pass.
mucks him.
Easy money.
And, Ian showing there's a few wrinkles to his game. It's not all A, B, C. He just seemed to think the time was right.
Yeah, do you think that is a Moody WSOP bracelet? You know, was it with that in mind, just to scare off the opposition, or did he mug a previous winner? Or do we know the real truth there?
Don't know. I used to live with a gambler named Big John, and he would wear his entire bankroll on his person in the form of gold jewelry, and when he was running bad, it would all end up in the pawn
Raise
shop.
to 8,000 total.
I don't really want to know about your personal life, but if you feel the need to tell me, I can be Dr. Davis.
We've got a big hand here. Ace Queen from Ian Harris. He's raised it to 8,000, and Liam's picked up a monster.
Raise.
Raise.
2,200.
It's 22 total.
Come on, baby.
The re-raise
No.
is 14,000 more. Barry Hearn
Pass.
mucks the King Queen like it was nothing, and it is. Question
Raise.
is, oh, hold it.
Re-raise.
It's
You're right
raised.
about that, Liam. Not letting that hand now.
26 more.
It's all in.
Go on,
It's a
then.
re-raise and an all in.
Re-raised all in and a call.
And it's going to be an interesting flop.
Ace.
Has Ian Harris acted too hastily? The ace on the board
On his first time on television, he's only been playing for 1 year. He needs one of 3 cards.
Would be his lifesaver, but he's in an all-in situation.
Good luck.
181,000 in there, and
I always stand up and I'm over.
this has happened very fast, Steve. And Ian Harris does have 3 outs, but he's in a dire strait.
I was getting the suitcase ready to go.
Ian Harris is looking at 3 aces. Liam Flood's still got 2 kings, although one of them's gone, with Barry Hearn throwing away. King, Queen.
That queen on the flop. Harris is still trailing, but now there's a queen in the deck. That would give him the best hand. Any ace, any queen. That's no help. 1 card to come. And Harris has got his suitcase on. He's out.
It's so simple to go out of this game, isn't it? 1 minute you're in, next minute you're out.
A push over the line. And Ian Harris ran into the Cowboys. Queen on the flop was a ray of sunshine, but the kings beating the queens. And quickly, this game goes 5-handed.
You do have to have enormous patience to play this game, to not lose track of where you are. Sometimes you're just desperate to get cards, and sometimes you don't get the cards, so you try and make something happen. And before long, your stack's being decimated. And the experience that you gain from the game can sometimes give you that patience.
Yeah, and I mean, success. It's great to learn off the back of success. It really...
I'm raising.
Raising.
I have to think of that.
Pamela, verbal contracts are binding. She'll be held to that. The
So it's
minimum...
14.
Raised to 14,000.
Sorry, Jesse, it's at least 8 then, isn't it?
Yeah, that would be the minimum raise. If she didn't announce anything, but she has
Maybe just put your
said
just show your biggest
14,
chips for me.
which
Just
is
move your
4
red
plus
chips to the front.
10.
That's it, so people can see. Thank you.
But,
Fold.
the be kind to strangers rule, not in effect. Oh no, look at this. Liam Flood
goodness.
picked up kings again.
My goodness. He has to obviously be careful of
Re-raised to
the aces, but
36,000
he's got to
total.
find out how strong the hand is from Pamela. He's been raising so many hands. What does Pamela think he has? I would imagine the other 2 lads will get out of the equation
Oh.
here
Yeah, I mean,
as quick as they can.
This is a great test of
So how much time do I have to think?
Pamela's escape tactics.
Don't answer for
Huh?
90 seconds.
9 seconds?
19.
Oh,
It's an acre of time, I think. You could finish a small novel in that time.
The re-raise is
not the
20.
way I write.
It's 22,000.
Reading, but,
Well, she's raised, she's been re-raised. What has Liam Flood got? And Liam Flood's giving us some verbal as well. What about this? No shame in passing. How can you do that as a line?
It's a very similar hand to the one Ian Harris went out on.
Fold.
And
There's
Pamela,
the difference. There's more experience there than Ian Harris showed.
well, this has been fun for Liam Flood, that is. 13 hands he's won, and he's won them all in a tremendous fashion. 244,000. The rest just lining up like empties.
41% bet frequency for Liam Flood. He really has been busy. He's had the hands. Unfortunately for Tony Rockfish Mackay, he's only played 9% of the hands. It would be nice for Rockfish if he could put some pressure on Liam Flood. He's just not getting cards.
I'd ace 6, yeah, that's jack.
How could he call it?
I pulled a 6 on the turn,
Call.
and he pulled a jack on the river.
Pamela trying to
There's only 2
stop
jacks, you see.
Fold.
the bleeding, looking to take a flop here against the chip leader.
No raise.
Liam ahead with the jack, but Pamela's cards are prettier.
Something for both of them.
Ace.
Unfortunately, a
8,000.
bit more for Liam.
Comes out betting. Now what?
This is a very clever play from Liam, actually, isn't it,
It is,
Steve? I mean,
yeah.
strong looks weak.
The call's probably not so worrying for Liam as the raise. Ooh, he thinks. Have another go, see where I stand.
12,000.
And Pamela, she can beat a bluff. She can beat a draw. She can't beat a jack.
She can't beat trip threes that Liam possibly could have from the big blind. So she may now be forced to give it up. Might have helped her do less damage, that extra 3.
Do you think it could be going through Pamela's mind that Liam has bet so often with so many hands and he just can't possibly have the goods every time?
But it's too risky. It really was too risky. She may still not believe him, but she couldn't afford to. He's running over this table at the moment. It's a masterclass
Yes.
from Liam Flood.
He is, but it seemed to me a very, very mature pass from Pamela, a very wise laydown. And Liam on 258,000 is, well, it's just terrifying, really.
My name is Liam Flood. I'm a part-time poker player, retired bookmaker. I think I'll play well. If I get a run, I should do well. I'm not afraid of whoever's on the table. I just play my cards my way.
Liam is encroaching on half the chips in play, and there's still 5 mummies at this table.
Oh, that's so so. One mummy calls. I don't know if Pamela is a mother, but she passes.
Fold.
And this is a statue. It's not fair. That's a really unfair thing
I
to
was
say.
thinking mummy is in King Tut, you know, they're all tied up.
Yes, I'm aware. I was aware, but just...
And Parks, little does he know that Barry Hearn has
No
a far
raise.
better pocket pair in first position. Barry may have been laying a trap here, and now it's pair on pair here for the flop.
Not what Barry Hearn wants to see, and probably not what Chris Parks wants to see. This could be the
Check.
first person to bet.
8,000.
Got to give it up. Very dangerous. Very dangerous to think that the other guy's bluffing here.
I'll tell you what, you and Chris Parks, Steve, are on the same wavelength.
Two mummies together.
I mean, you could have a play with me.
No, you're alright.
He's a great winner, Barry. He's a
Mummy does
fantastic.
not give you any choice when you was young.
He's a fantastic winner. He
I had
is.
nothing. Had to make my own.
A bit more when you had that hand.
Chris Parks and
I had
Barry
an hand.
Hearn.
Not good enough then. I had a pocket play.
Did you?
I saved 2,000.
Too low.
Yeah. Too like 4s.
Lower than that.
Was it really? Yeah. That's a hole in your pocket. That's a hole in your pocket.
Precisely.
I know. It's what aims get you in trouble if you don't flop one. Like when you go.
Listen to me, son. I've been playing for 4 years.
Yeah.
Or was it 5? I know everything there is to know about poker these days. But I tell you what, Barry Hearn in poker TV events has done very, very well and is a vastly improved player.
I mean, there's actually very few people on the entire poker circuit who have as good a record as
Raise.
Barry in these one-table formats, although Liam Flood
8,000
is one of them.
total.
Here he goes again.
And well, Barry's got the hump. There is no question about this. He does not believe Liam, and this is a war of wills.
Well, he's called him. You know, 3 spades. Doesn't take a brain surgeon to work out that could be dangerous. It's the only way Liam Flood's going to be stopped at the moment.
Liam's made second pair, but Hearn
Getting a bit impatient, perhaps. Got to be careful. Ooh, it's a big reach.
10,000. Sorry, 15,000.
Not that big a reach, sorry, but no, Liam Flood has flat called in this position before earlier, and does so
Called.
again.
And that'll send the alarm bells ringing at Barry Hearn's head. The queen would have been lovely. That king is a bit of a scare card for Liam.
Check. Check.
Well, the 10
That's
now
checked.
could do some damage.
That king has made a third heart.
Barry Hearn has to bet to win the pot and get Liam Flood to fold.
If he bets big enough, I think he might take it, but it's a very dangerous card on the river.
It's brave as well to put any more money into this. He's got to put a fair bit in.
20,000.
Oh, that's massive.
Oh,
he's
he-
gonna
You're not a bad fellow.
It's the
Called.
power of having the chips. He can afford to call. He can afford to call.
Queen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's a great scoop, and he knows it. On Barry Hearn has been to some degree decimated.
Well, with a 9 there, boy, I've got to say. Good for you, Liam. Well played.
Well, all of a sudden, Barry Hearn down to 53,000, and Liam Flood's going from strength to strength here. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to even, well, put anything in his path?
Well, there's a lot of ways to win at
Not Mark, you
poker,
retired from playing?
but
No, I don't think
No.
Well, the only time that Barry Hearn is talking is when he's been asked a question by Liam Flood. This is the quietest I've ever heard Barry in my life.
I will try it again.
he thinks
13.
he'll have something
Raised to
more to say.
13,000
Oh, he's just going for it now. He's just making a mockery of them all here. They don't know where they are. They're reeling on the ropes. None of them can find anything, or can they?
Pass.
Raise.
Oh, it's time for an all-in.
Oh, that's
Put
all
the
right,
foot
no.
down, and the hammer has spoken. And this really is the most effective way to play against
44,000 total.
someone who's. Ooh.
I thought that might keep you change tack there, Jessie. What do you reckon?
Time.
Time out she's called for.
I
Don't think you can have one of those, but good try.
reckon that
She's got a decision. I'll tell you what, if she did put it all in,
Pass.
she could end up
Pass.
doubling up to some degree, but perhaps a very wise fold, not knowing what Liam Flood had.
31 if you wish to call there.
I think it is. I mean, I think Pamela seems to be the kind of player where she didn't come here to put herself voluntarily in a 50-50 spot. If it happens, it does. But
I don't think you have a lot, to be honest with you.
It's been a raise, a re-raise
Just a move.
with a
Just
pair of
to get back.
nines. She can't
Well, I
really put
certainly owe
anything
you
in.
one.
Not really. I owe you a few. Like, you've been very good to me. Solid pass.
Oh, it's just fantastic, isn't it? And it's so politely done as well. Yeah.
But I mean, Hearn, Barry was a bit short stacked, so that the all-in raise was probably the right amount. But regardless, there's something very strong about that all-in re-raise. Left with no more opportunities, and with that raise, Barry Hearn, he's still in last position, but in far better shape than he was before the hand began. And Liam hasn't done himself much damage. Still half in play.
We were talking about position at the start of the program. Of course, the one thing that an all-in bet does take out of the equation is that position doesn't really matter anymore. From your own perspective, you have no more decisions to make.
Pass.
Yeah.
Pass.
You get new chips for every turn, which you do.
Queen 10 for Pamela. Could be tempted into a raise, but
Pass.
she seems very, very disciplined.
It would have been cheaper to buy
Yeah,
one.
Pamela not hitting the panic button at all. And it'll be interesting to see that Liam, he got stopped up there. May have gotten a little too fruity. 8-3 under the gun. But I don't think it'll put him off.
Very fortunately for Liam Flood, I think. I mean, Pamela's playing pretty tight, and not that aggressively, so he's being let off a lot of decisions on his big blind that possibly a stronger player may well have made.
Because those wholesalers in England are very expensive.
6,000 on the governor.
Pass.
Oh, whoa! They've all had it at the moment. They've all been bashed around the head by Liam
Pass.
Flood and.
Call.
Call.
So what about? Alright.
Sorry.
That's your charge.
No raise.
Park says let him live. He'll try and catch a flop here. If a 5 comes, could get grim.
Check. Check.
You may well be
check.
loath to bet at this, Liam Flood, with that ace there. You may think,
6.
I can't really
6,000.
represent too strongly the ace. Well, 6 is a little feeler.
God bless you, Mags. There must be a damp bed in that hotel.
The problem that Chris Parks may be having here, Steve, is even if he does suspect Liam bluffing, you know, you can't afford to. Ooh,
Call.
Well, that's a bit speculative.
a 3 or a 6 would actually make Parks a straight. He's open at both ends. Double belly buster, it's called sometimes.
12.
12,000.
And that was a lifesaver for Liam Flood. He went from bluffing to value betting.
Fearless Flood with a bit of value. Well,
No.
no, I wouldn't have thought so either.
Pass.
Fold.
Interestingly enough, I mean, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but if Chris Parks had raised there on the turn, he may very well have taken that pot.
Still look.
But it's easier to say than do, isn't it?
I need to.
Yeah, they're all in such a weak position, and they feel the weakness as well. They have gone all into their shell really here. There is nobody playing strongly at the moment against Liam Flood. He's dominating.
Yeah, I mean, you've got no margin of error with when you're playing against a chip leader, do you? If you make a mistake, it's bound to be your last one. As Ian Harris found out before, and then Barry Hearn after him.
It's grim,
Pass.
very grim. The problem for Liam Flood is how much does he keep raising? I mean, can he keep on bullying them forever? Or because he's got to show a bit of variety.
Call.
He's calling with 6-4 now. He feels he can do
Call.
anything. They're not going to be doing anything to him. Call with a 6-4.
Look at that look. Oh, and Barry Hearn had a hand he could
Checked.
well have raised with.
He checked with a pair of 9s.
Not
They
that
just,
too clear, isn't it?
Yeah. You never know.
if anything over a 9 comes, where does he go?
Chris Parks has just hit top pair.
Oh,
How will he play it?
10,000.
10,000.
This has put Barry Hearn in a very tough position.
oh, those 9s must have looked pretty decent before. Not now. Oh, I think he's getting rid of
Pass.
them.
I tell you, I won't be knocking out anybody. I'll be passing.
Very
Pass.
disciplined fold by Barry Hearn, and Parks doesn't get any action with a hand he probably would have been able to stand a little heat with.
Sometimes.
But every pot's a winning one right here. He's happy to just pick up small scatterings of bird droppings.
If any of these players came here with a game plan, it's completely out the window.
Oh yeah.
If they thought, oh, I'm going to be aggressive, the only person possibly who's kept to their game plan is Tony Mackay, who hasn't really been involved.
Change my sign, just like.
But he can't change gears. He's got his foot on the clutch ready to, but he's not getting the cards.
The guy's given every indication of a man who's being paid by the minute. I mean,
We have told him there's no prize for second place. What pile of rubbish is Liam Flood going to raise with here? Perhaps not.
well, it almost seems set in stone, doesn't it? As you said, it's Pamela's big blind,
Well, he has
Raise
raised
to
with rubbish.
15,000 total.
and
Pass.
Liam will have noticed that.
It's there for the
Re-raise.
taking.
Re-raise.
Oh, perhaps not.
All in.
Oh, it's
All
another
in.
one. It's a vast bet again. Obviously big enough now for Liam Flood
Barry, I didn't mean to bet that.
to get away from it.
I take it back.
60,000
Under no
total.
circumstances.
Pass. 45 if you wish to call.
Bit of acting, too expensive. Goodbye, Liam. But he makes him squirm a bit, doesn't he?
He does. That's
Oh, you're too good, Barry.
Pass.
that is part of the game plan. It's all right to fold if you get re-raised, but make him squirm a bit. Although Barry would have been happy to get action on either of the hands he raised Liam with. But, you know, Barry's, you can't sit there and try and set a trap there by just calling before the flop, can you? I mean, Barry has done really the only weapon that there is against a big chip stack like Liam, which is just stick him in.
Well, he called with the 9s.
The more you play the game,
Got his bottom
you
smacked.
realise how
Yeah.
little you know.
And there's
That's
Barry
why it's such a great game.
ruining the 9s.
The trouble is you've always got alternate moves, which give you sleepless nights.
And he's thinking about the 9s. Looks like there's an hour of those tossing and turning in his brain tonight. Why didn't I raise those 9?
I pass.
Pass.
Liam
Pass.
mixing his
Pass.
play up.
12. Raised to 12,000 total.
Patricia getting,
6 to call.
Pamela getting busy for
She doesn't
one of
need...
the first times.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't need big card. Ooh. She doesn't need big cards to raise here. I was going to say as tight as Tony's played, but this is nearly a loosey-goosey call for him. And Pamela.
Impatience from both of them, or the need to get busy from both of them?
Pamela will be a bit surprised. I mean,
Check. Check.
this is the first time Mackay has come out of his shell. His blind has been up for the offing all night long. And even though she's flopped a pair here, the flush draw and the big bet, that's going to end this, isn't it?
20,000.
Well, bottom pair,
Pass.
not good enough for Shandel. And she goes into the think tank slightly, thinking, oh, I don't know, it's such a tough game. I just can't accumulate any chips here at all. She's now bottom of the pile with only 50% of her original starting stack, and the blinds are getting serious.
Welcome back here. Poker action from the partypoker.net European Open. Jesse May
Pass.
and Steve Davis from up above.
Call. Pass.
Calling with the suited connectors.
Just him and me. The boss and me.
No raise.
He's not a bad fella.
Barry Hearn obviously feels like he's got enough chips to, as you say, speculate in a hand, Steve. And here he is against Liam Flood.
Who checks blind and gives Barry Hearn the
Let's check
opportunity
the
to
blind,
perhaps
Barry.
either bet or
Check to Barry. Check. Both
try and
check.
get another club.
Yeah, Barry's decided here
Check.
to play
Check.
the flush draw a little slowly.
10,000.
This is interesting. Liam has a straight draw here. Ace or 6 would make him a hand.
Apart from the clubs.
And looking at the percentages, you see the king is actually the key card. It's leading right now.
Trying to work out perhaps what Barry Hearn called with in the first place. What did he call with? Perhaps he could have had a jack.
Call.
Perhaps he didn't have a jack, and perhaps he didn't have any of the rest of the flop and turn. He's checking before the river card comes down.
Check.
It's a 2 of clubs.
Oh, it's made Barry
It's
Hearn's
made
flush.
Barry Hearn's flush, and
Careful now.
Liam a pair. He
10,000.
said careful. Before Barry Hearn put the money, he said careful. Careful, Barry. Don't get too carried away.
It's interesting. Barry, of course, well aware that the last time he bluffed on the river, Liam Flood caught him. He's not bluffing now, and Liam would love to make a call with a pair of twos and have it be good. That would be the ultimate insult.
I called and I won to be sent the cards as marked, so I'm passing.
Pass.
You've done yourself a favour, son.
Huh?
Doing yourself a favour.
You've done yourself a favour.
Yeah.
You're too shrewd for me, Liam Flood. I can't even sack you with a measly $10,000 bet.
How do you get paid from this
we have
man?
a saying in Ireland, don't feed the bears.
Do you have a lot of sayings in Ireland?
I never heard of that one.
Well, Bazzah Hearn, who had been down to just under 50,000, has put himself up into second position with 100 even. That's where he started, and
Pass.
I'm sure that'll feel like a mint to Barry.
Pass.
Well, it was a pretty brave call in the first place, really, with 8-10. It could have all come wrong, and
Careful throwing
there's
them
been
cards
players
because they were nearly exposed.
throwing better than that away. Now, does he strike back?
Call.
He just calls.
10,000.
An ace
Raise 10,000
raises.
more, 16 total.
You weren't supposed to do that.
It's going slightly wrong for Liam Flood. All of a sudden, it has turned fractionally. He hasn't got his aces, kings, ace 10 anymore. It's a bit more exposed, perhaps.
He's hard-headed. It's not going to change the plan. The game plan's been the same for 35 years. It's going to take more than bad cards to slow him down. He'll keep raising till ashes turn to dust. But nice play by Parks there. Try and seize on a small advantage.
Well, thinking of how the other players must feel, they must be encouraged to some degree by, I think, the last 3 times Liam Flood folding.
It's almost like you feel like something is about to happen, and it may be Pamela sticking her chips in.
How much? The big blind is still 6.
14.
She puts
Raise to
in
14,000 total.
She does it to me every time.
just a little less than 3 times. And
Uh-oh.
here comes the big move.
There we go.
You raise all in.
Her timing has been so off, Pamela. Every time she's picked up something reasonable, something big has been picked up behind her, and Liam Flood is looking at Mackay's chips with interest. I mean, it's
89,000
as tight as
total.
Mackay has been playing.
It's nearly my age.
You'd have to have a huge hand to play.
You're still lying about your age, Liam.
Yeah. Pass.
Pass.
Can
Pass.
Pamela get away from this ace 10 this time? She turned down ace jack before. She's
I
very
have to
low.
call.
She's very low. And
I need more practice playing live poker. Because this is pitiful. Here.
She has called.
Not necessarily.
She talked herself into it. Steve, do you think it was a situation where she had just been re-raised one too many times?
Ace 10, isn't it?
yes, I think it's,
King's going through it.
as she said herself, she's frustrated with how she's played here.
Oh, yeah,
And it's not necessarily of her making, to be quite honest, but she's very uneasy calling, and she knew she was struggling with the words pitiful. That's how she views today's
Yeah, I
proceedings.
need practice on live poker, my God.
Pamela all in, but all is not lost. A 10 would get her out of the muck and mustard. And that's no good. Diamonds. Be a girl's best friend here.
It's exciting though, isn't it?
Pukey.
I think that probably sums it up better than the word exciting from Pamela's perspective. Well, possibly a king now would help her.
Yeah, any 10. No, a 10 is no good. A 10 is no good now. It would give Mackay the straight. This is not a good situation.
Hello.
And the deuce makes it worse.
Okay,
Ace
I look
king
forward to
high.
playing you gentlemen in the future.
Please God.
Okay, sure.
He did not have the best hand and finally called. He's gotten too low. Ace 10 versus ace king. The 10 became a key card until the turn. Then the king was hoped for, but ace-king high beating ace-queen-jack by the narrowest of margins. But Connecticut calls.
Pamela, it just seemed like nothing was working for you out there.
No, totally correct. Totally off, like I was missing an arm or something. Totally off.
Is it because you were saying before you haven't played much live? Did it feel awkward in there with the playing?
I had no idea what the transition from internet to live is in a tournament, and it's huge.
I like that sound. I'm on the button.
I think it's quite fascinating at the moment. You've got Liam and Barry chatting away. Tony to the left, just with his glasses on, looks like he's come out straight out the Matrix. He's not really listening, he's just a sort of computer virus.
And Barry is going to make Tony take some notice here.
18
Triple, oh, darling.
Mr. Smith, big one, a re-raise on Hearn. And where does he go from now? Where does he go?
Barry may take his time to work this one out, but unless Mackay has completely changed personas.
Obviously Mackay in front as we speak. And what he doesn't know, although it's only speculation for what may happen should Hearn call, what Mackay doesn't know is that the other two queens have already gone. So there's no way for him to possibly improve. But that doesn't matter now.
So Liam Flood still betting, still raising, and still in front. So Mackay knocking on the door, Mr. Tight Knot.
Timing is everything.
I think those can't see from Max.
Barry Hearn has not said a word nor moved a muscle. I think quite a while. He's leaving it to the rest to stack and shuffle their chips. What is he thinking?
Well, recently he's been involved in a TV event where there was room for manoeuvre in getting from the semi-final stage to the final, where you could afford to come second and third. He's back now to a freeze-out. Only one player coming through. Every table's got its own characteristics.
Yeah, you have to win. And in order to win, you're gonna have to... Oh! It was a quick all-in from Chris Park, and he has got Liam dominated. Barry Hearn's still in the middle of this, but there'll be an interesting question to see if Liam Flood calls with this hand.
It was so quick, the all-in, wasn't it?
All in for 97. Fold.
So quick.
The re-raise is 67,000, and Liam Flood, the good news is that he has a chance to take someone out. The bad news is, should he call and lose,
67.
it's going to be a big dent in his Dorchester.
67. It's half the pot as the pot size currently stands, and I don't think he will. He's been very disciplined in folding.
He hasn't called a re-raise yet, has he?
No.
I mean, not without the kings, anyway.
He's made money from the raises and used that to see where he can go. If he folds, he does no damage whatsoever to his chip stack. He's still at 284,000, or around that mark anyway, 250, something like that. I'm not absolutely sure, but he'd still be chip leader by a long way.
Good hand.
Which means he's going to fold.
Cool.
Call.
Wow!
Got that wrong.
And
First mistake.
There you go.
Liam would have been delighted to see a pocket pair under queens, but as it is, he's dominated. There's no 50-50 here. It's 3-1 against, but a lady could change things. Chris Park's in a strong position to double up, but he has to survive 5 cards in the board. That did no damage.
And the old queen is
When the old ace will do, baby.
ace of hearts.
An ace would end it.
Ignore him.
Ace of hearts. Take the ace of hearts. No, big trouble now.
3 queens in the deck for Liam Flood. Every other card belongs to Chris Parks.
Close.
I got the heart and 4-3. I was right, wasn't I? Well done.
Parks is used to extreme sports, but it was clenching there.
And,
Nice double through. Game on here.
Well, yes, Chris Parks shoots to the top of the leaderboard. Liam Flood, for once,
Good enough.
hasn't got things all his own way. It's a completely different mix-up now.
4 square. The chip leader. Dark glasses, cufflinks, and sun. Who's it gonna be? It's tighter than 2 chips. Shift in the gravel. Parks has been trotting the path all night long and finally shoots to the moon. First in chips.
Easy.
I'll call.
Call.
Well, Liam.
Balling.
He's picked up a good hand at a good time. And he's up against an interesting selection of cards.
Your own age.
My own age.
All in for 67.
Chris
Fold.
Parks has the 9s. Let's have a look at what Liam Flood's got, because he's got something interesting.
I go all in.
All in.
And he comes over the top of Parks. This could be, if Parks can call this, he could get value from Liam Flood.
Liam has taken a very strong opinion here, Steve, because clearly he does not rate Barry Hearn for much of a hand.
Liam Flood's in a terrible position here, should he get a caller in Parks. Perhaps he won't, though.
That's 40, 50.
Really,
This
really
is massive. This is only a mistake. Only a mistake if Parks calls.
Very tough for Parks to call, isn't it? Or is it? They're not that far apart in chips, Chris Parks and Liam Flood. And the way Liam Flood has played the hand, I mean, you'd swear up and down bejesus that he had
40, 60,
better than 2 9s.
Okay, so Chris Parks,
110.
looking at Barry Hearn. Well, he can't really put Barry Hearn on anything
Was it tomorrow?
too strong, because he possibly was going to be a bit desperate anyway. But he must put Liam Flood on something strong.
No, it's 167.
If he puts Flood on Ace King and Barry Hearn on anything because he panicked,
What's he got there?
He's got.
That's the
He's got
67.
I'll tell you, the strongest thing right here is that Chris Parks is taking his time to work this out. But this is a serious decision.
Thank you.
And he's not being hasty about it. Good luck to him.
Could be chip leader after this.
oh, now he's getting some verbal.
Could
He
be.
knows it as well. But can he bring himself to put the chips over the line? No,
He's
he
announced
can't.
pass. I mean, he's going to be very surprised when he sees these hands. But
Say thank you, Liam Barry.
Liam
I'll probably say
Flood.
thank you as I leave the door, Liam.
I have a pair, Barry, small pair.
Play what?
What was that?
Snowman.
It's amazing. Chris Parks can't believe it. The situation the same for Barry Hearn. He needs to catch one of his overcards, and he can triple up here, just about.
But he got Parks off the 9s, and I think the reason why Flood did that in the first place was that Chris Parks only called with the 9s.
It's 10 or something.
You pair 9s.
Barry Hearn all in, needing an ace or a queen
Open 9.
to stay in this tournament.
Oh,
6 cards in the deck. There's one.
Go on, son.
Ace on the turn, and now Flood
No 8.
needing to catch an 8.
Carry on.
Well done, Barry.
It hasn't come. Ace is up.
Yeah, I'll tell you, what shame you weren't in there. I'd have been sick.
The nicotine and
Wow.
Different story.
that has really
A little bit.
changed this board. What a shake-up in the shuffle.
Decisions to make, but the right one.
Chris Parks could have been massive chip leader. As it is,
Oh, you
he
would
did
have
the
got
right
that,
thing, I think. Got out of trouble, kept away from a fight.
So you would have won 120.
Yeah.
Hearn goes into second place.
I'll put you on more than that, to be fair. I just wanted to...
Liam Flood goes to the bottom of the pile. Tony Mackay keeping well out of trouble.
I reckon it'll be a bad play.
I could have took you out, couldn't I?
There's a lot of wrinkles in this game.
I'm on my way home back.
What a football.
Back to Ireland.
That hand was amazing.
No, Jesse, how do I play these?
Carefully. Jeez.
Fold.
How quickly you can go from first to worst.
Yeah, I mean, Liam Flay's got plenty of chips there, but they're all the small denomination ones.
Does he go on tilt, Jesse? Have you seen him go on tilt before? There's the question we're all asking.
Well, I think whether or not you've seen it before, you're seeing it now. I mean, there's all but smoke rising from the bottom of his seat.
Raise. 35
Although
total.
King 10 is...
Fold.
If Chris Parks had come over the top there, Liam may very well have beat him into the pot.
Chris Parks obviously got his own problems in trying to deal with the fact that he had nines, but I don't think he did the wrong thing.
There's an Irishman on the loose here in London, and Liam Flood is straining at the chain, and 130,000. Who's to say what's to happen?
You want me to get you more tea? Well, as soon as I'm knocked out. Sorry, as soon as I knocked myself out.
Pass.
Fold.
I'll call.
Call.
Well, could have been forgiven for raising.
I'll raise.
Raise.
And this is Barry Hearn from the small blind. He's seen Parks limp in from the button a couple times, and
Might as well make it pretty big. As you say, he won't have position after this round.
well, that's a buffet bet. He's gone back for a second helping. 40,000 more.
Raise 40,000 total. 50.
He doesn't want to call it, does he, with that ace-6?
40 to line.
Yeah.
Chris Parks is our chip leader. In some respects, he could afford to call.
All in.
Ooh.
He can definitely afford to do that. That's,
And it may be that Hearn is now committed, or is he not? He's got about another 80,000 to put in. It's a great bet if you can get Barry Hearn to fold this ace-6.
it's lovely either way. I mean, it really is, isn't it?
There comes another time.
Oh, and he's going for it, and he's going to love what he
Wow.
sees. Well,
Wow.
this has slaughtered Parks if a 2 doesn't come up. There is the possibilities of a split pot. Obviously, that is a possibility with 2 aces and 2 very low cards. Should 4 cards come above a 6.
Yeah, looking at the percentages, 1 out of 3 times it's going to be a split pot. But Barry Hearn leading.
You wouldn't knock out before Barry, would you?
The 6 would make him very strong. That makes a lot of split pot potential out there. Any 5, any two cards over a 6.
It's very likely that there will be a split pot here. There's only a 3 and a 4 that can make Barry Hearn the winner, I think.
Yeah, or a 6.
Yes, of course.
Split
Good call.
That was the end of this level. The new point is 7.15.
So chop
We're
it
gonna
up,
change
but
the dealer.
the moral victory goes to Barry Hearn there. Although Chris Park really showed something. And after that bit of pitter-patter, Park's still the chip leader. But never been so tight.
Barry Hearn made an inspired call only to get his chips back. Look at that bet frequency from Tony Mackay, 10%.
Blinds now 7 and 15,000. as if the dryer wasn't going on full speed already. And Chris Parks carefully guarding his chip lead. That stack of reds representing over 200,000. That might be enough.
Well, it was last time.
Raise.
And the bet's just
30,000
getting
more,
bigger.
45 total.
45,000. A huge raise. Mackay.
Doesn't even flinch. Across the line, all in.
Just a straight ship in. And Liam, very interested in the proceedings. He's in the big blind.
112,000.
What's he got?
Pass.
Not a lot.
Pass.
Easy.
And now a question asked of Parks. Barry Hearn with ace-6, very similar to Chris
Breathing
Parks.
going on my left.
Called.
I deep breathing now.
It's a big enough bet to get Parks off
67
this.
to call. 67 to call.
Perhaps it's not. I don't know.
It does seem like it. I mean, Parks wouldn't want to be in a situation where he's dominated with the ace. It's happened once already, just last hand.
The difference is, of course, Mackay has very, very rarely gone this big.
Pass.
So respect. And he's won a nice pot with the worst hand.
He really has. Just when you were thinking that Mackay had folded himself into oblivion, he speaks up.
And goes first.
Without having to show his cards or turn them on the backs. I mean, that's...
I tell you, Jesse, he's won it, mate. He's won it.
I'll tell you what, if Liam Flood had made that re-raise, there's no way Chris Parks was folded. He folded 44 hands straight just to earn that respect, and it was granted. Mackay, first place.
Pass.
Barry,
Pass.
not appreciating the dealer's efforts there. Jack 5.
Liam Flood will probably raise from the small blind. Oh yes, I
Pass.
know him like the back of my hand, don't I? He threw away 7th floor. 7th floor, he would have been in big trouble against ace 10.
Were you sure?
Parks had.
Just 10.
Got the feeling that Liam Flood was building up for a raise. It wouldn't have been unusual for him to raise.
Well, this is very tight here. Mackay in first with 175,000 and average chips right now 150. So if you do the math, you see that nobody is very far from the rest of them. In fact, this is about the time now when the chip lead is going to change with every hand.
To some degree, the only players around the table that seem to be capable of bluffing are Liam Flood and Barry Hearn, and that's an all-in with possibilities to improve. And another question being asked of Parks now, an all-in from somebody who's been betting all day long.
123.
And he's got an ace.
He's had a flurry of aces over the last couple levels. And just the kickers have been awry.
It's a big enough bet to put you off the hand unless you've got a monster.
Nice draw.
Barry Hearn slings a pair of 4s in the muck.
Nice draw.
That was a strong move by Liam. He was outgunned in 2 spots and took the turkey home. And that's put Liam... it's not in first, but 22,000 well appreciated.
Okay, 15,000.
These blinds expensive. 22,000 a round.
Yes. Every player staring the edge of the precipice on every hand.
Pass.
Decision making doesn't necessarily get any less complicated at this game. You may have just a different set of decisions. High cards are now at a premium possibly. Looks like Barry Hearn's building up for a raise. But what type of raise can he make? And what's he going to have left after he makes the raise? Beforehand, he went all in with a lower amount of chips.
Raise.
Yeah, he did.
He'll raise about half his stack, it appears.
That's 40.
40,000 more,
Leaves himself
55 total.
roughly 60,000. It's just whether he's come up against ace 10.
Oh, he's come up against a big hand here.
Oh,
my.
Another near here.
Oh.
You know, it's really clever there. I mean, you almost think that Mackay would have been more willing to call had the raise been all in. It was very suspicious, that little raise, wasn't it? Almost asked for action. It was, or is he
Nice
just
one,
too
Barry.
tight, Tony Mackay?
That was too strong for him.
Let's take a look at how the blinds work in Texas Hold'em. Every poker hand begins with the placing of the button and the posting of the blinds. The button is a disc that represents the nominal dealer. The blinds are forced bets to get the action started. The player to the left of the button puts in the small blind. The player on his left puts in the big blind, usually double the small. Action for this first round of betting will move to the left of the big blind. The button moves to the left with each hand, and the blinds are raised throughout the game to keep the action going.
And probably from Barry's words, Tony Mackay thinks perhaps I should have done. Perhaps Barry didn't have anything. Well, that's a nice
Call.
to call with. Well, he's chip leader.
Raise.
He's
all
come up
in.
against the big hand with Barry Hearn, and there's going to be some fireworks now.
Well, this is almost a repeat of a hand
Pass.
earlier. Ace-queen for Hearn, all in. And uh-oh, there's an ace out. Can't imagine Chris Park's giving this up here, Steve.
I don't think Liam wants to get too busy, does he? No. Call all in.
129,000.
Could he think his ace is in front?
Be mad.
Could he think the first call was nothing? The second call was desperation?
Pass.
Pass.
No.
All right.
Can he sling a pair of tens away?
Wow.
Oh,
I like this hand.
he doesn't like this hand.
114 to
He
call.
doesn't like it.
He's made some big passes already this evening.
Well, he doesn't have to play. Nobody's asking him to play.
He'll only be 50-50 if he does call. Is that what he's thinking?
Barry's asking him to fold. Nobody's asking him to play.
It's such a big hand, four-handed.
Decision time.
Oh, I think you're on top. I'll pass.
Oh!
Go for that.
The thing is, probably Barry thought he was in front.
Yeah.
Little did he know what Chris Parks has just thrown away.
Never win on that hand, so I'm not betting.
Those pair of deuces, we love them.
Yeah.
Hearn, with that, has taken over the chip lead.
You got overcards by now.
Yeah. I've had a tremendous run over the last 15 months of TV tables and final tables. Never won, but nearly always the bridesmaid. But I'm looking to be fairly aggressive. I do know, however, that I'm up against some equally aggressive players. There are no Muppets in this competition.
Great if four of us went all in, wouldn't it?
It's 7 and 15. It'll go 10 and 20, and then 15 and 30,000. So there is no rest. Keep coming round and round.
Is Mackay getting hands at the right time?
Raise.
And once again, he wallops in all the reds. It's an even bigger bet than before, I think.
110,000.
Pass.
Pass.
And he's found Chris Parks
Oh.
with another problem, but he must surely go. Not necessarily, though. Who knows the answer? Only Chris.
They're nearly dead level in chips.
He's got to consider the possibility of bluffing and manoeuvres, surely. But he doesn't want to go out. Can he put his chips over the line? And then he's only 50-50.
He's made some unbelievable. He's called.
Call.
Wait, no, hold it. Hold it now.
He's still
Don't
got
do
hold
anything.
He's still got
He
cards.
said call the bet.
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's still got chips, so you call in the 110.
So put in 110.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
Sorry,
as
Get nothing for coming session.
I'm sorry.
as has rightly been pointed out, even though it looks like they'll be virtually all in no matter what, and I think they will be on the flop no matter what comes here, Steve. Although if it comes ace, king, queen,
See the way Marty was
Mackay
up there?
may decide to save his chips at home.
Yeah, Liam Flood was playing sort of, in a way, keeping the policeman because I think Chris Parks was about to turn his cards over at some stage. I think that would have been fatal for Chris Parks, I believe. It would have meant he was out of the pot. He'd have called it. He's hit an ace. And he's in
All
front.
in.
Well, that was a welcome sight for Chris
And
Parks.
Nice
And
shot.
How much chips have you?
Mackay was calling no matter what, it seems like. The 2 sevens, all of a sudden, in desperate trouble.
Yeah, pretty similar.
These two
4 over.
have just nearly the exact same. It's a little late.
Okay, just a minute.
Good luck.
He's still in anyway.
Oops, I'll be more than him.
Tony Mackay needs a 7. He really needs a 7.
And the 7 takes it.
Cheers, bro.
Aces and fours.
Don't call for it, you know.
It's a hard way to go out. Mackay gave himself a great shot there.
7 takes it. Nice.
Okay, but I knew you were going to call it.
You know.
Do you know why you were
That swinging door. The only thing left of Tony Mackay. All in with the 7s, and Parks finally had enough. He called 50-50, but not when the ace came. Then it was the pair of bullets. And Mackay out in 4. Parks, the first one to break that stalemate 4-way, Steve, and now that double through is it's made him very strong, hasn't it?
Yes, it's given him more options. He's got a few more bets in his armoury than just all in.
Pass.
My turn all in.
Yeah?
I'm all in.
All in.
Did you say it before you put out the chips?
It's my turn, I said. All in.
Queen Jack of spades for Barry. He,
Good bet.
Pass.
Well done.
quite happy to
So
take
just
the
won a
15,000.
guarantee.
Just trying to get me 15 back from last
Yeah,
time.
you got it. Sorry? Did you open it?
Of course I did.
I hope you didn't spit in it.
And Hearn, he's really had to take a lot of walks uphill.
I like this one, a free card. You don't see too many of them, do you?
And there's going to be many flops.
No,
Says he
no.
finds himself in the one spot three-handed where you can almost take a deep breath on the button. Any ace? Any king?
Or any bluff.
Or anything.
Cool, that's a tempter. That is a tempter. Can he afford to just raise? Yeah, I suppose he can. He did it before.
Pass.
Ooh. Probably
I'm
right.
thinking it's a free card, what am I doing?
Jack 10's not so good three-handed. He's up against the
was
big
very
hand.
close.
But if you'd have put them all in, it may have been difficult.
Raise all in.
Cool.
Well,
Oh.
if we look at the hands who are up
All in and
again,
call.
Leave that.
this could be
Don't you
massive
leave
for
your
Parks.
own,
This time the 10s he calls
Oh,
with.
yeah.
Oh, he's got the 10s again, does he?
Now we'll see whether you're right this time.
He said he wouldn't.
I'll be wrong.
Those 10s have been making circles round this table, and all of a sudden it's Liam Flood. Who would have thought he'd be all in?
For so long, the chip leader took a couple of bad beats and now has to rely on an 8 or an ace coming up in the next two
The
cards.
draw has improved.
Possibly a 6.
Yeah, straight draw for Liam. 10 still leading.
But I have
Two
empty
cards to
faith
come.
in them. Trouble now. Might be another interview coming up.
All to play for. One card to
Hold on.
see.
Good luck.
Play it.
Interview tour.
What are you doing to me?
And Liam Flood out in third, Steve.
We're not going to throw away ace-8.
Well, I think summed it up there. You can't get rid of ace-8 three-handed.
The gentleman, all in with the ace, ran in the 4 10s. 1010 and 2 pairs, 10s and 4s. Taking Liam Flood, 0-0.
Liam, what a game. I mean, it started out like a massacre.
Yeah, it looked like it, felt like it. I was running over the table. I played very well, in actual fact, all through the game. I just made one mistake.
You did. I mean, in addition to all the big hands you had, we were raising with every kind of 8 deuce, 8-3.
Yeah, I remember those hands. Yeah. No, it was a good game. I had control over it until I doubled up Chris. The 67,000 I gave to him. It hurt me by 67,000, but I just felt in that particular hand, I was wrong, that he was making a move on me because I was after raising so many hands. And that's really why I called it. It was a bad call.
Down to 2, and it's the Western Shores versus the East End. Only one seat open at the semifinal. All to play for. Ripple them up. £30 and a Bridge North chair have brought Chris Parks this far. A little more to seal the deal, but something's standing in his way. And it is a very hard knockout indeed in Barry Hearn and Steve Davis. Barry hasn't gotten much in the way of cards, but he's played very tough tonight. And he's going to have to start moving.
He certainly has been hanging on in there and showing great character. Chris Parks has warmed to the job as well. I'm sure that the class heads-up players would try to alter their play and mix it up a bit. What's Barry Hearn found here? He's found a king. Is that another all-in?
What call?
Just a call.
No raise.
Well, he's mixed it up. He's not found anybody with a big hand on the opposite end of the table. A 5 would be interesting. And there's a 5, but also a 7. Parks has hit a monster.
He's covering his mouth. He's trying not to squeal.
All in.
25,000.
All in.
Raised. All in.
Parks with the wave beat Barry in the pot.
It was too quick. He should have just called.
What call?
Oh, well, perhaps he shouldn't have done.
I think Hearn thinks Parks might be on a draw. Thinks the 5s may be good. They're not. Barry Hearn needs a king. Badly.
7 and a 5.
7 and a 5.
Well, you better draw me a king to go with that then.
No kings, please.
This could be very quick. 2 cards to come. And Barry in desperate need of the Cowboys riding shotgun. Chris Parks on his way to the semis. 3 cards stand between him and that ticket.
Go on, son! Get in there!
Ho, ho, ho.
Ooh. Oh, that was exciting.
I think that was exciting for everybody but Chris Parks, who must feel like his heart has been ripped out of its socket.
Can you believe it? What a card to pull on the river.
It's really game on here. That pot 302,000, Steve, which makes these two just about even, Steven. The blind's at a stage right now. There's a bit of play here.
He does seem to have a sixth sense for when to go, when not to.
It's weakness. I think he can smell it.
Well, he's smelt it on many occasions in the world of ducking and diving as a sports promoter. Everything's a game.
Check.
And this
No
is another
raise.
one. And he's checking with a pair of 5s.
Not a bad flop when you have a pocket pair and there's a pair on board.
Everything looks dangerous, doesn't it? He's trying to work out where he is.
Check.
He's got half a
Check.
chance of being in front. They're
Check.
both a bit wary.
Free shot for Parks. Missed.
Hearn's got a heart. We know that. He's got a big one.
Check.
And now, a bet.
30.
Bet 30,000.
If the plan was to induce the bluff,
Ooh. This is a fascinating situation now. He could be forgiven for doing anything, really. He could come over the top. He could call, or he could fold. To some degree, you could make a case for any one of them. That's the cheapest option.
just didn't like it. It's and Chris Parks has now taken the lead back. It's a lot of bouncing back and forth here.
Yes, and it's fascinating stuff as well. They're not too much. They're not looking at each other too much, are they? Really, not staring each other out as they sometimes do.
They're not. I mean, there's been a couple of hands played where you would swear
Call.
that something's been felt, but
Right.
Raise.
Call and raise. They both got aces. Is there going to be some action?
I think Chris Parks may have been trapping here with the ace, and now all of a sudden,
30.
has he set a trap
Raise
for
to
himself?
30, 50 total.
Small.
Okay, Barry, let's go. I'm all in.
Oh, and he's
Oh,
made the mistake.
Call.
Ace 5.
He couldn't possibly have known there was another ace out. It was a small raise.
Shit.
And I
It
think
finally
that sums it
happened.
up.
Come on the 5s.
Collision of endemic proportions here for Chris Parks. Come on the 5, he says.
Nothing for second, Barry.
And Parks is not all in, but there's not much. Oh, he's at a 5! It's come!
And there's no hearts out.
Barry Hearn has gotten out of it on the river before. He's got 2 cards to catch a jack now.
Come on. Give me some ace.
Well, he's picked up a straight draw, open-ended. Queens or 7s.
Yeah, and a flush draw. If a heart comes, it'll be a split
Queen or
pot.
7.
Or a heart. He probably's forgotten about the heart. I did, for a split second.
Good luck, Barry.
There's plenty of cards out there.
Yes! Fuck.
The river has been Barry Hearn's friend. And it is again. He was ahead, then behind, then drawing, now winning. And
I've got some change, I think.
Yeah, you should have searched it.
there's
Wow.
it's a hard game, this hold'em. Chris Parks, what a classy guy he is to be able to take this sitting down, standing up with a smile on his face, but he has to feel like it was in his grasp there.
Well, that's going to keep him awake at night for a few weeks or months.
I'll tell you what, you can take the Queen of Clubs out of every deck of cards in Chris Parks' house. It came on the river, made Barry Hearn the straight 8, 9, 10 Jack Queen. One pair of 5s alone, and Hearn just a whiffle from Whistle and Dixie.
He had 17 cards to hit on the river, I think.
The big blind.
What's your verbal, Barry?
It's
That was
30,000.
a lot. It was actually about half the deck, wasn't it? It was quite a bit. It was
Well, you got to feel for him.
Oh, cool.
Call.
Barry Hearn was in front going into the flop, but even so,
Today's
once the
live.
flop came down. Let's see what situation we have here.
well, there's 60,000 in this pot, and Chris Parks, if being all in's not tough enough, he's only got 3 cards in the deck to hit. Although, not now. Now there's a couple of split pots out there.
King and a queen.
Or a jack or an ace, interestingly enough. Would all make a split pot.
Or 2 threes.
Turn. Barry Hearn on the edge of victory here.
Queen and king or an ace is a split pot.
Here's the river. It's come this far. The jack holds. Barry Hearn has done it. And in what a fashion.
You don't believe it. These ones
Down and up and down and up again. The damage was done the hand before. But Chris Parks was brutal till the end. Kings and queens with the jack had played 5 cards in a poker hand. And Barry Hearn continues his fallacious form at this format.
Barry Hearn, congratulations. You're a very tough man to knock out of these tournaments.
Well, you know, all you can do is you have to play the cards. I felt I got reasonably aggressive when it was heads up. It's not my strong point, and I was obviously trailing by a lot of chips. Lady Luck shined on me a few times, and you know, as you can see from the fist pumping exercise, it got exciting out there. It did.
It's a good battle.
Chris, in 1985, I played in the final of the World Championship against Dennis Taylor and lost on the black. I had a sleepless night. How do you feel?
Oh, I'll have about 3 or 4, I think.
You were so unlucky.
Barry the River Hearn now.
Well, no, Old Man River.
It was a good battle. I enjoyed it. I said to you in the break, didn't I? I said to my girlfriend Claire that I thought it would be me and Barry heads up, and it was. Didn't end up how I wanted it to end up, but you know, what can you do? It was a good game.
You feel in this type of game that you get momentum. I don't really understand how it works, but once the cards started going, the king on the river the first time was just one of the most exciting things of my life, which is probably means I have a sad life. But it was very exciting.
Well, I mean, you talk about momentum. You both had to bide your time. Yeah. Early on, it looked like it was only going to be one winner, and both of you guys just sat there and then took your opportunities.
Take no prisoners. As you say, nothing for coming second.
There's nothing for coming second. You know, you don't get too many chances to play in great events like this, and it's, you know, we'll have a laugh and a joke and a beer about it, and then he'll give me a kicking in the car park, which is probably what I deserve.
Barry Hearn going through to the semi-final stages.
Good luck, mate.
Of this partypoker.net European Open. Join us next week when we'll have some more hard nuts at the poker table.